Hey guys, this is Gaijin Anime, and today I'm doing a request video. Someone asked me to ask me a question, and I'm going to answer it. So the question was, what were the surprising things for you when you came to Japan for the first time? And well, I kind of knew a lot about Japan from before because I was interested in anime for nearly 10 years before I first came to Japan, and I've studied Japanese for a while and I've read a lot on Japanese culture and so on. So probably a lot of things were not super surprising for me. The language was not super surprising. I kind of could converse right away from the get-go, but some things actually did surprise me quite a lot, and yeah, I'll just go through them. So number one was the number of people and the density of people in Tokyo, especially in places like Shinjuku, Shibuya, Ginza Yonchome, basically the busiest street crossing in the world. That is just different. I mean, if I'm from a major city myself, a 5 million city, but Tokyo is just on a whole different level. I mean, the number of people that you have there, and especially the density of people is super impressive, because some cities they're really big, but they're spread over a large area. But in Tokyo, it's the center is really pretty compressed, and there's like 2 or 3 million people going through the Shinjuku railway station each day. It's also the busiest station in the world. And it's just crazy. I mean, it's like an ocean of people. And also the fashion, the way that girls dress in Tokyo is kind of impressive, because it's really extravagant. It's very colorful, very unique. And the first time that I came to Tokyo, I was just basically all the time, whoa, like that, because you can't help but kind of turn your head around. So you don't see this in Europe, you don't see this in the US. Japan, probably the only place you really see this with this density. It's kind of crazy. But of course, one corollary from this was, of course, I was super curious, but the Aborigines, basically the local people, the local Japanese guys, you know, the indifference, the passivity, it's kind of surprising, because they're almost apathetic. They don't care about anything. They just sit, they look through people. Nobody really looks at anything except their cell phone screen. And well, probably it's not super surprising, because after you have been exposed to such a level of audiovisual input, you kind of have to, you know, shut it out, because otherwise you'll go crazy. So on the one hand, you have all this extreme amount of audiovisual information, all the sound, all the noise, all the color, especially in the evenings. If you go to Kabukicho, man, this was just awesome. I mean, you have to do this once. It's just fun. Yeah. Anyhow, next point, which kind of surprised me, was the density of buildings and industry when you go from Narita airport to basically to Tokyo. It's almost an hour with the train, depending on whether you take the NEX or the KC Skyliner. The Skyliner is a little bit faster, but it doesn't go directly to Shinjuku, only to Hippari. But the interesting thing is, for the whole hour, and the train is pretty fast. It's probably, I don't know, 100. It's not as fast as Shinkansen, but maybe 120 or something. And it's buildings all the way. I mean, there are some rice fields at the beginning, but afterwards it's just buildings for many kilometers. And basically, yeah, that's what the Tokyo area is. It's just one giant metropolis. It's like all buildings. And yeah, this is kind of impressive, because I don't think there is such density of infrastructure anywhere else in the world. I mean, this is the most densely populated area in the world. I mean, the 30-something million Tokyo Yokohama urban area is the largest in the world. So it's kind of different if you are used to living in a small village like me here. Okay, also what kind of surprised me was the density of stuff in the city, because in something like Kabukicho or Akihabara or I don't know, Ueno or whatever, you basically have eight floors in the building, and on each floor you can have like 10 different stores or shops or whatever, and they're all usually posted. There are signs for all of them on the outside, and it's basically like an encyclopedia of stores in one building, and it's kind of fun. And from the outside, this building can be sometimes, like this. It's just 1 meter or 2 meters, just goes pretty deep inside. It's kind of strange, but it's very interesting to explore. So I like this a lot. Especially Akihabara is awesome. I mean, Akihabara, if you're an anime fan, you can hang out in Akihabara for weeks. So yeah, another point that was fun was these super tiny elevators. Some of the elevators there, I literally couldn't walk in there straight because, when I do like this, my shoulders are pretty broad, so I have to like squeeze myself in these elevators. That was just awesome. Real fun. Also, slightly surprising, I mean, I knew before about that, but the politeness, the etiquette of everybody, it's pretty impressive. If you're used to Europe, or even worse, I don't know, if you've been to Turkey or some African states or whatever, I mean, those guys are just rude. But in Japan, it's a whole different level, even compared to, I don't know, Germany or something like that. And this feels really nice, because in everyday stuff, it's just really pleasant to interact with them, because everybody is polite, nobody is occupying your personal space, everyone is watching out for everybody else, though not in the sense that they would help directly, but in the sense that they don't offend you or don't make problems for you, and this is really pretty nice. So, for example, even pretty simple stuff like on the train, nobody talks loud, and nobody talks on the phone, because most of the time it's actually prohibited to talk on the phone. You have to put your phone into silent mode. But even if it's not prohibited, people generally don't do that, because it's just culture. Don't want to inconvenience others, and I think that's great. I mean, I like it very much. And yeah, slight corollary from this is the people lining up super neatly, really like this, for example, for Shinkansen. And this is also really a very nice indicator of how organized and how polite and orderly Japanese society is most of the time. Because I mean, in Europe, you won't have people lining up like this. It's just no. People are just well, not always, but a lot of the time it's like a buffalo herd. Everybody for himself. And nobody gives a fuck about what other people want. And perhaps the one last thing that kind of surprised me, and which I didn't really know about beforehand, was the whole drinking culture. I mean, the Japanese really drink a lot. I mean, really a lot. And they aren't particularly good at drinking, actually. I mean, the guys, they just check down the beer like no tomorrow, and they mix this with sake, which is basically rice wine, and they mix this with whiskey, and with shochu, which is potato based, and with with cocktails, and of course this gives them a really bad hangover. So if you if you walk around in Kabukicho like at 3 in the morning, you can see people, you know, barfing all over the place, or basically lying on the ground like half dead. That was slightly surprising because I didn't really expect it to this extent. Yeah, but that's how it is. I mean, it doesn't apparently make any problems for them, and you know, they live the longest in the world, and they work among the most in the world. I mean, the Japanese work week is just crazy in terms of hours. Maybe they have to drink, you know, like Terence Pop says. I think it's not that I have a drinking problem. It's I have problems, and because of them I drink. Probably the Japanese are kind of like that. Anyhow, I think this is it for the question. What surprised me when I came to Japan for the first time. And yeah, if it was interesting, if you liked it, please subscribe, leave your feedback. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask whatever you want. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you next time. ありがとうございます。またね。